Close your eyes now, my sweet listener, and let the softest rain begin to fall outside your window. Just a gentle Seattle drizzle that kisses the glass with tiny, cool fingertips. Tap, tap, tap. So light it feels like the night itself is whispering goodnight to you. Breathe in slowly with me. Feel the cool air, fill your chest, and breathe out everything that happened today. All of it drifting away like mist over Puget Sound. You're safe here, wrapped in the warmest blanket, your head sinking deeper into the pillow as the room grows quieter and quieter, until the only thing left is my voice, soft, close to your ear, telling you a story that has helped millions of hearts fall gently asleep for more than 30 years. Tonight, we're going back to 1993, to a little film by Nora Ephron called Sleepless in Seattle, a bedtime story about loss that somehow turns into the softest kind of hope, about two people who have never met yet already belong to each other, and about how sometimes the universe uses a child's voice on a late-night radio show to stitch lonely hearts back together. Did you know that Nora Ephron wrote the first draft in just 3 weeks after falling completely in love with the 1957 classic An Affair to Remember? She said she cried every single time she watched it, and she wanted to give the world a new fairy tale for grown-ups who still secretly believe in signs. And here's a tiny secret. Tom Hanks was actually everyone's second choice. The studio first wanted Dennis Quaid, but Tom read the script and told his agent, "I have to play this grieving dad. I understand this ache." Meg Ryan fought for the role of Annie because she felt Annie's quiet longing in her own bones. Tonight, you're going to feel it too. Every raindrop on a windshield, every crackle of an old radio, every heartbeat that skips when someone says the word magic. Let the rain grow a little heavier now. Not scary, just enough to cocoon us. And imagine you're floating on a houseboat that rocks ever so gently on Lake Union, the water lapping beneath the floorboards like a lullaby. Shh, shh. Can you smell it? That cool, clean scent of wet cedar and distant coffee from the city? That's Seattle breathing with us. Somewhere in this city tonight, a man named Sam Baldwin hasn't slept properly in 18 months. And somewhere far away in Baltimore, a woman named Annie Reed is about to hear his voice and feel her whole careful life tilt like a ship catching the softest wind. Have you ever had a moment, maybe in the middle of the night, when you suddenly felt someone you've never met was thinking about you at the exact same second? Hold that feeling. Let it settle warm in your chest, because that's where our story lives. Before we drift into the very first scene, let me ask you something gentle, just between us and the rain. Have you ever lost someone and still caught yourself setting 2 cups on the table out of habit? Or smiled at a joke in your head that only they would understand? That ache, that tender private ache, is the doorway we're going to walk through together tonight. It doesn't hurt here. It only feels like being held. And if you ever worry that love only happens once, close your eyes tighter, because this story is going to wrap you like the softest blanket and whisper, "No, darling." Sometimes it comes back wearing a different face, carrying a little boy's backpack, arriving exactly when you stopped looking. Feel your shoulders sink now, your fingers uncurl, your thoughts slow like honey. Good, so good. The houseboat rocks once, twice. The rain finds its rhythm, and somewhere a red radio dial glows warm in the dark, waiting for a child to press talk. Are you ready to let this story carry you? Just nod. Even the tiniest nod. I feel it. I always feel you. And together we'll float into Christmas Eve, 1991, when everything quietly begins. The screen opens on a gray Chicago cemetery just after Christmas 1991. and the wind moves through the bare trees so softly it feels like the world itself is holding its breath. You can almost taste the cold on your tongue, sharp and metallic, mixed with the faint scent of wet earth and dying pine reeds. Sam Baldwin stands in his long, dark overcoat, the collar turned up against the wind, his 8-year-old son Jonah, clutching his gloved hand so tightly the leather creaks. Sam's face is still handsome, but there are new hollows beneath his eyes, shadows that no amount of sleep will ever fill again. His wife Maggie, bright, laughing Maggie with the curly hair and the voice that used to fill every room, lies beneath the ground now. Cancer took her in 8 cruel months. When the minister murmurs the final prayer, Sam doesn't cry. He simply stares at the polished casket, as if he's waiting for her to sit up and tease him for looking so serious. Jonah tugs his sleeve. "Dad, can we go home now?" Sam blinks, comes back from wherever he was, and whispers, "Yeah, buddy, let's go home." But the word home already feels like a lie. Cut to 18 months later. The houseboat in Seattle rocks gently under a soft spring rain. Inside, the air smells of coffee and little boy cereal and cedar warmed by the sun that finally decided to show up. Sam is trying. God, he is trying. He builds elaborate Lego cities with Jonah. He remembers dentist appointments. He even learned to braid hair for Jonah's school play, though the braids always come out crooked, and Jonah pretends they're perfect. Friends keep setting him up on dates. There was the allergist who sneezed every time Sam laughed. There was the woman who collected Victorian morning jewelry and talked about death for 3 straight hours. Sam comes home, loosens his tie, pours himself a finger of scotch, and stares out at the dark water. Jonah watches from the hallway, small bare feet cold on the wood floor, and decides his dad is shrinking. One night, Jonah can't sleep. He pads into the living room where Sam is dozing in front of an old black and white movie. The television glow paints soft blue across Sam's tired face. Jonah climbs onto the couch, curls against his dad's side like a comma, and whispers, "Do you miss Mom a lot?" Sam's arm tightens around him automatically. "Every minute," he says, voice rough. Jonah thinks for a long time, then asks the question that will change everything. "Are you ever going to get married again?" Sam laughs, a broken sound. "I don't know, kiddo. It's hard to imagine loving anybody the way I loved your mom." Jonah's small face sets with 8-year-old determination. He has been listening to Dr. Marcia Fieldstone's late-night radio show You and Your Emotions with his babysitter. He knows what he has to do. It's now Christmas Eve again, exactly 18 months after the funeral. The houseboat is decorated with a single strand of colored lights that blink lazily. Sam is asleep on the couch, one arm flung over his eyes. Jonah sneaks to the phone on the kitchen wall, the cord stretching like an umbilical across the floor. He dials the number he memorized weeks ago. The operator's voice is warm milk and honey. "National call-in show. Do you have a question for Dr. Marcia?" Jonah swallows. "It's for my dad. He's really sad." In Los Angeles, Dr. Marcia leans closer to her microphone, sensing something fragile. "Put him on, sweetheart." Jonah tiptoes to Sam, shakes him awake. Sam is groggy, confused, hair sticking up in soft tufts. "Jonah, it's 2 a.m. Jonah shoves the receiver into his hand. "Just talk to her, Dad, please." Sam sighs, rubs his face, and mutters hello. Dr. Marcia's voice floats through the line like warm breath on a cold window. This is Dr. Marcia Fieldstone in Los Angeles. Who am I speaking to? Sam gives his name, still half convinced it's a prank. Then, almost against his will, the words spill out. He tells her about Maggie's laugh that could light up a room, about how she used to dance barefoot in the kitchen while making pancakes, about waking up every morning for 18 months and forgetting for one cruel second that she's gone, only to remember again like a punch in the chest. His voice cracks on the word magic. He says, "I don't think I'll ever feel that again. I miss her so much, it's like I'm underwater all the time." There is a long silence on the airwaves, the kind of silence that makes 2 million listeners hold their breath at once. Somewhere in Baltimore, Annie Reed is driving home from her fiancé Walter's house in her little blue Volvo. It's raining there too, soft East Coast rain that blurs the Christmas lights into watercolor streaks. Annie is warm and safe and engaged to a perfectly nice man who has never made her heart race, but she tells herself that's what grown-up love is supposed to feel like. Steady, sneeze-free, predictable. She flips the radio dial looking for music and lands on Dr. Marcia's show just as Sam says, "I knew her since we were 12. I knew the second I touched her hand at the science fair that it was over for me." Annie's foot eases off the gas. She pulls over beneath a street lamp, rain ticking on the roof like 1,000 tiny fingers. Sam's voice fills the car, low and raw and honest. People say get over it, but how do you get over the one person who made the world make sense? Annie's eyes fill with tears she doesn't understand. She has never heard a man speak about love like this. She sits there until the show signs off, hands frozen on the steering wheel, heart beating in a rhythm she doesn't recognize. Back in Seattle, Jonah is on the extension in his bedroom, grinning ear to ear. Dr. Marcia has nicknamed Sam Sleepless in Seattle, and the phone lines are exploding. Women from every state are calling in, offering comfort, plane tickets, homemade casseroles. Sam is horrified. He hangs up, stares at Jonah. "You are in so much trouble." But Jonah just smiles the smile of a child who has moved the first chess piece across an invisible board. Outside, the rain keeps falling, washing the city clean, washing Sam's grief just a tiny bit thinner. Have you ever listened to someone else's heartbreak and felt your own ribs crack open a little? Just breathe into that feeling. Let it soften. It's safe here. And tell me, sweet friend, have you ever pulled your car over because a stranger's voice on the radio suddenly felt like it was speaking directly to your soul? Hold that moment. We're only just beginning. Let the rain settle into the gentlest hush now, like someone turned the volume of the world down just for you. Feel your whole body growing heavier, sinking deeper into the mattress while we drift across the country to a pretty brick house in Baltimore where the Christmas tree lights are still blinking lazily on December 26th. Annie Reed is curled on her couch in soft flannel pajamas the color of oatmeal, legs tucked beneath her, a half-eaten bowl of popcorn cooling on the coffee table. The radio is still on from last night, turned low, but every time Dr. Marcia's voice comes back on the air with another caller, Annie's shoulders tense. She can't stop hearing Sam Baldwin's voice saying, "It was like magic." The word has been circling inside her skull for 24 hours like a moth around a porch light. Her best friend Becky comes over in the afternoon, carrying 2 steaming lattes and the kind of worried smile that only best friends are allowed to wear. Becky sits cross-legged on the rug, pulls a fuzzy blanket over both their knees, and says, "Okay, Spill, you look like you saw a ghost." Annie tries to laugh it off, but the words tumble out anyway. The radio show, the man who sounded like someone ripped his heart out and handed it to the entire country. The way she cried in her car for a stranger. Becky listens, wide-eyed, then whispers, "You have to find out who he is." Annie shakes her head. "I am engaged to Walter. Walter, who is kind and allergic to everything and has never once made me cry in a Volvo." Becky raises an eyebrow. "Exactly." That night, Annie can't sleep. She pads downstairs in thick socks that whisper against the hardwood, pours herself a glass of cold milk, and sits at the kitchen table staring at the phone. The house is quiet, except for the refrigerator hum and the soft tick of the wall clock. She opens her laptop. This is 1993, so it's a bulky beige thing that takes forever to wake up, and starts writing a letter she has no intention of sending. "Dear Sleepless in Seattle," she types, fingers moving slowly, carefully, like she's touching something sacred. She writes about how she heard him and felt the floor drop out from under her ordinary life. She writes that she believes in signs, even though she's a journalist and journalists aren't supposed to. She describes the way her heart actually hurt when he talked about waking up and reaching for someone who isn't there anymore. She signs it simply, "A listener in Baltimore," then deletes the whole thing, cheeks burning. But the feeling stays. Across the country, Sam is trying to go on a normal date. His sister Susie has set him up with Victoria, a laughing, confident woman with long dark hair and a red dress that fits like it was sewn onto her. They meet at a cozy restaurant on the water. Candles flicker in glass globes, reflecting tiny golden moons on the tablecloth. Victoria smells like jasmine and possibility. She touches Sam's hand when she laughs, and he tries so hard to feel something. He really does. But every time she smiles, he sees Maggie's crooked grin instead. He excuses himself to the bathroom, splashes cold water on his face, stares at his reflection and whispers, "Get it together, Baldwin." When he comes back, Victoria is twirling her wine glass, waiting. Sam forces a smile that doesn't reach his eyes and thinks, this is what moving on is supposed to feel like wearing someone else's skin. Meanwhile, Jonah has become the ringmaster of a quiet circus. The mail starts arriving by the bagful. Thousands of letters addressed to Sleepless in Seattle, care of the radio station. Jonah intercepts them before Sam sees. He sits cross-legged on his bedroom floor, surrounded by pastel envelopes that smell like perfume and desperation. He sorts them with the seriousness of an air traffic controller. Too old, too young, too many cats too far away. Then he finds one letter with no return address, just careful handwriting on thick cream paper. It's from Annie. She rewrote it after deleting the first version, mailed it on impulse, and has spent every minute since regretting it. Jonah reads it once, twice, then clutches it to his chest like he's found buried treasure. "Dad," he says later, eyes shining, "I think I found her." Sam barely glances at the letter. "Found who?" Jonah's voice is pure 8-year-old certainty. "The one. Did you know that in real life, over 3,000 actual women sent letters to the production hoping Tom Hanks would read them? The art department had to build an entire extra room just to store them all. And here's a tiny whisper just for you." Meg Ryan improvised the moment when Annie first hears Sam on the radio. She asked the crew to play his recorded lines while she was alone in the car, and the tears you see on screen are completely real. She said later she felt like she was eavesdropping on someone's soul. Close your eyes now and feel the soft weight of all those letters drifting down like snow inside your chest. Have you ever written something you never meant for anyone to read and then pressed send anyway? Have you ever felt guilty for wanting magic when your life is already perfectly fine on paper? Let those questions settle gently, like dust motes in moonlight. We're not judging here, only holding space, breathing slow, in and out. Let the rain thin into the softest mist now, the kind that makes streetlights glow like warm halos. And drift with me to the newsroom of the Baltimore Sun, where typewriters still clack and the coffee tastes like burnt regret. Annie sits at her desk surrounded by stacks of newspapers that smell of fresh ink and yesterday's headlines. Her editor has given her a fluffy assignment about how people are meeting each other in the 90s, and Annie jokes that soon they'll be sending smoke signals via modem. Everyone laughs, but inside she's burning. She has become quietly, deliciously obsessed. She knows it's insane. She knows Walter is planning a Valentine's Day proposal with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker, complete with allergy-free roses and a string quartet that won't play anything with brass. Yet every night she replays the tape she secretly asked the radio station for, Sam's voice curling around her in the dark like warm smoke. She does the most un-Annie thing of her entire life. She calls in sick, boards a plane to Seattle under the pretense of research, and lands in a city that smells of salt water and espresso and possibility. The clouds hang so low you could reach up and touch them. She rents a car the color of wet moss and drives straight to the address. Jonah accidentally let slip in one of his many phone calls to Dr. Marsh's show, because 8-year-olds are terrible spies. She parks across the street from the houseboat just as the sun is setting, painting the water in molten rose gold. Sam is on the dock teaching Jonah to skip stones. He's wearing an old gray sweater that clings to his shoulders, sleeves pushed up to reveal strong forearms dusted with dark hair. When he laughs at Jonah's terrible throw, the sound is low and surprised, like he forgot he still knew how. Annie's breath fogs the windshield. She watches Sam crouch down, wrap his arms around Jonah from behind, guiding the next stone, and something inside her chest physically aches. She whispers to herself, "That's him. That's the man who said magic." She sits there until the porch light comes on and they disappear inside, then drives away crying so hard she has to pull over twice. Back in Seattle, Jonah has escalated. He has booked himself a plane ticket to New York using Sam's credit card. Again, 8-year-olds in 1993 were basically hackers with juice boxes. He leaves a note. "Meet me at the Empire State Building on Valentine's Day like in an affair to remember. Annie is coming. Trust me." Sam discovers the empty bedroom, the open window, the note, and loses 10 years of his life in 30 seconds. He races to the airport in a panic, hair still wet from the shower, wearing mismatched shoes. Meanwhile, Annie has flown back to Baltimore, convinced herself she is a crazy person, and agreed to let Walter measure her ring finger with dental floss because he read somewhere that's accurate. The ring is a tasteful marquise diamond that catches the light like a polite cough. She smiles the smile of someone practicing for photographs. Valentine's Day dawns pink and cold. Jonah lands in New York alone, dragging his little wheeled backpack shaped like a dinosaur. He takes a cab to the Empire State Building. The driver refuses to take his money because no kid should be alone on Valentine's Day. Up on the observation deck, the wind whips his jacket around his small frame. He stands at the railing, clutching a crumpled teddy bear he bought at the airport gift shop, waiting for the woman from the letter who promised, in careful ink, that she believes in signs. Hours pass. Tourists come and go. The sky turns lavender, then indigo. Jonah's lip trembles, but he refuses to cry. He just keeps staring at the door. Meanwhile, Sam has tracked Jonah's flight, flown to New York himself, and is running through Manhattan like a man on fire. He reaches the observation deck just as the last security guard is locking up. He begs. He actually gets on his knees in front of a teenager earning minimum wage. The guard takes pity and lets him up. The elevator climbs so slowly Sam can hear his own heartbeat in his ears. The doors open, and there is Jonah, small and brave and utterly alone under the vast city lights. Sam scoops him up so hard the backpack thuds to the floor. "Never do that again," he whispers into Jonah's hair, voice breaking. Jonah pulls back, points across the deck where a single red backpack, Annie's, sits forgotten beside the telescope. She had come. She had stood in the exact spot from the movie, heart-hammering, waiting until the very last second, before duty and fear dragged her back downstairs to catch her flight home. She left the backpack because she couldn't bear to carry the weight of almost any more. Sam walks over slowly, almost afraid. He kneels, unzips the bag, and finds a cream envelope with his name written in the same careful handwriting as the letter Jonah treasures. Inside is a short note. "It was magic after all. I'm sorry I was scared. Annie." Sam closes his eyes. The wind moves gently around them, carrying the distant sound of taxi horns, and someone laughing far below. He feels something shift inside his chest, like a knot finally loosening after 18 months of being pulled tighter and tighter. Have you ever stood at the edge of something enormous and turned away because it felt safer to stay small? Breathe into that memory. Let it soften around the edges. And tell me quietly, have you ever left a piece of yourself somewhere on purpose, hoping the right person would find it? The city lights are blinking slower now, like they're falling asleep with us. We're almost there, just a little further. Shh. Everything is unfolding exactly as it's meant to. Did you know the final scene on the Empire State Building was shot at 4 a.m. so the sunrise would be real? Tom Hanks said when the actual sun came up behind them, he started crying for real, and they kept the take. Meg Ryan wasn't even supposed to be in that shot yet, but she watched from the sidelines and cried too. Sometimes the universe directs better than any script supervisor. Let the city lights fade into the softest twilight now, the color of bruised violets and warm peaches, and feel the observation deck beneath your bare feet, cool, polished concrete that still holds the day's gentle heat. The wind has quieted to a tender breath, moving across the deck like someone exhaling after holding everything in for a very long time. Sam stands with Jonah's small hand tucked inside his own, the red backpack hanging heavy from his other shoulder, and he is reading Annie's note for the third time, tracing the curve of each letter with eyes that have forgotten how to hope. Jonah tugs once, softly. "Dad, look!" Sam follows his son's gaze across the empty deck, and the elevator doors are sliding open again with that familiar metallic sigh, like the building itself is clearing its throat. Annie steps out alone. She is wearing the same camel coat from earlier, collar turned up against the evening chill, cheeks flushed from running all the way from the airport where she turned around the moment the plane touched the runway in Baltimore. Her hair has come loose from its careful twist and curls in damp wisps around her face because she cried in the taxi and the driver gave her a crumpled tissue that smelled faintly of peppermint. She stops a few feet away, clutching her plane ticket like a child holding a permission slip. The city behind her is a necklace of gold and ruby lights, but neither of them notices anymore. Sam's mouth opens, closes, opens again. He looks suddenly, endearingly, like a man who has forgotten every word he ever learned except her name. Jonah takes one deliberate step forward, then another, until he is standing between them like the final puzzle piece. He looks up at Annie with solemn, 8-year-old eyes and asks the question that has lived in his chest for weeks. "Are you Annie?" She nods, unable to speak. Jonah's whole face breaks into sunlight. He turns to his father. "This is her, Dad. This is the one I told you about." Sam swallows so hard it's audible in the hush. He sets the red backpack down very gently, as if it contains something breakable and priceless, and walks the last few steps until he is close enough to see the faint freckles across Annie's nose that no camera ever caught. The air between them feels charged, like the moment before the first raindrop falls. "Hi," he says, voice rough from crying on airplanes and begging security guards and 18 months of grief. "Hi," Annie whispers back, and it sounds like the most intimate word in the English language. They simply look at each other. No grand speeches. No swelling orchestra yet. Just two people recognizing home in a stranger's eyes. Jonah watches them for a moment, satisfied, then picks up his dinosaur backpack and the forgotten teddy bear, and walks a polite distance away to give the grown-ups space, humming the theme from an affair to remember under his breath like a tiny matchmaker Cupid. Sam reaches out first, slowly, giving her every chance to step back. When she doesn't, his fingertips brush the sleeve of her coat, then the soft skin of her wrist, then the curve of her palm, until their fingers lace together as naturally as breathing. Annie's eyes fill again, but this time the tears are warm. She laughs once, a small, watery sound. "I left my backpack," she says, which is absurd and perfect. Sam smiles, the first real smile we've seen on his face since Maggie died, crooked and shy and luminous. "I found it," he answers. They stand there holding hands on top of the world while the last sliver of sun slips away and the first star appears, bright and steady and unafraid. Jonah comes back, slips his small hands into each of theirs, completing the circle. The three of them look out over the city that has held so many almost loves and never quites, and for the first time in a very long while, everything feels finished and beginning at the same moment. The elevator doors open again. This time they step inside together. As the car descends, the camera pulls back through the window, and we see the Empire State Building glowing against the night, its spire lit in soft valentine red and white, a beacon for every sleepless heart that still dares to believe in magic. Did you know that Nora Ephron fought the studio for this quiet ending? They wanted Sam to kiss Annie dramatically against the railing, but Nora insisted real love sometimes begins with just a handheld in an elevator, because that's how it actually happens when you've both been broken open by life. And here's the softest secret of all. The final shot of the building wasn't planned. A technician accidentally left the lights on the Valentine setting after wrap, and the cameraman kept rolling. Nora saw the dailies and cried, because the city itself had decided to give them a happy ending. Can you feel it now? The way your own heart is a little wider than it was an hour ago, That gentle ache behind your ribs that isn't pain anymore, just space? Breathe into it, let it fill with warm, golden light. Good, so good. Feel the elevator descending now, so slowly, so gently. The cables humming a low lullaby just for you. The numbers above the door blink downward. 80, 70, 60. Each floor taking a little more weight off your shoulders, off your heart, off every place you've carried too much for too long. Inside the small golden box, 3 people stand in perfect quiet. Sam's thumb brushing the inside of Annie's wrist in tiny, wondering circles. Jonah leaning sleepily against his dad's leg. The red backpack resting at their feet, like it has always belonged there. No one speaks. They don't need to. The city outside the windows has turned itself into a bowl of soft, jeweled light, and the whole world feels held, suspended, safe. When the doors slide open in the lobby, the night air rushes in cool and sweet, carrying the distant scent of roasted chestnuts from a street vendor and the faint metallic promise of snow. They step out together, 3 silhouettes against the marble and brass, and for one perfect second the camera lingers on their joined hands. Sam's larger, slightly rough from weekend carpentry, Annie's smaller with ink stains on 2 fingers from her reporter's notebook, Jonah's sticky from airport candy but absolutely certain. They walk out onto Fifth Avenue, and the movie ends exactly there. No kiss, no swelling strings, just the soft click of the closing doors and the quiet certainty that everything, finally, is going to be all right. Let that certainty settle over you now like the warmest quilt. Let it cover every corner of doubt you still carry. You have just watched 2 people who thought their stories were over discover that sometimes the universe writes quiet postscripts in the margins, little notes that say, "Turn the page, darling. The best chapter is waiting at the top of a very tall building." And maybe, somewhere inside your own chest, a small, brave 8-year-old voice has been trying to get your attention too. Maybe you left a red backpack somewhere once. Maybe you still can. Have you ever stood in an airport and almost turned around? Have you ever heard a stranger's voice and felt the floor tilt? Have you ever held someone's hand for the first time and known, without a single word, that you are already home? If the answer is yes, even a tiny whispered yes, then this story was always partly yours. If the answer is not yet, then let it be a promise tucked under your pillow tonight. The Empire State Building is still there, lights burning soft red and white every Valentine's Day, and the elevator still works. It always will. Did you know that every single year since 1993, couples, hundreds of them, have asked to be let up to that observation deck after hours on February 14th? The security guards keep a quiet log. They call them sleepless pilgrims. Some leave notes. Some just stand where Sam and Annie stood and hold hands and cry happy tears into the wind. The building keeps the secret. The city keeps the secret. And now you keep it too. Feel the rain returning, but it's warmer now, almost like mist from a dream. Let it wash the last of the day away. Let Sam's crooked smile and Annie's ink-stained fingers and Jonah's dinosaur backpack drift down through your thoughts like feathers. Let every what if you ever carried turn into soft maybe someday. Your breathing is so slow now, so easy, in and out, in and out. The houseboat rocks once more on Lake Union, gentle as a cradle. The radio dial glows red, then fades to black. The Empire State Building turns off its Valentine crown and goes to sleep, satisfied. You did it. You stayed all the way to the top of the world, and back down again, And nothing chased you, nothing hurt you. Only love found you, quiet and patient and true. It's okay to let go now. It's okay to believe that somewhere someone is reaching for a phone, or a letter, or an airplane ticket, because they heard your heart on a frequency only the lonely know. It's okay to fall asleep smiling, even if there are still tears on your lashes. They're happy tears tonight. They taste like magic. Good night, sweet dreamer. Good night, sleepless, wherever you are. The city is quiet. The rain is singing you to sleep. And someone, somewhere, is already on their way.